So again, welcome. Nice to have you. My name is Erin from Vintage Fitness, and this is a webinar on persuading your parents to exercise. We're going to start with a bit of a poll just to kind of kick things off. So how many centenarians are there in Canada? So if you're able to answer that, that would be great. The options that should be coming up on the screen: 1,000, 2,000, and 9,000. Results are coming in. No one thinks 1,000 right now yet, Marion. We'll see. All right. All right, Marion, what's our answer? This was your question.
And good going, everybody. It's 9,000 centenarians in 2020 with a projection of, I think it was 127,000 by 2050, which is amazing. And if we're going to be centenarians in 2050, then we all need to keep fit, keep mobile, and keep moving.
Absolutely. And 60% of us got that, about 9,000. So
fantastic.
this is a well-informed group to start off with, for sure. All right. So I know a lot of you, just as a quick reminder for people, if you're new to Vintage Fitness, my name's Erin and I'm the owner of Vintage Fitness. We are very specialized working with older adults, mostly seniors. Most of our clients are between 65 and 85. Clients do achieve their health goals with us. It's slow and steady. So I always tell new clients as they're coming on, this is not the transformation in 90 days. This is not building the bikini body. This is making the right choices and changes to your lifestyle, and over time can make an incredible difference. And we've been doing this for a while. So it was founded in 2005 when I was pregnant with my second daughter, and she's now enormous at 16 years old. So we've been around the block on this one for a while. And I'd like to really welcome my guest, Marion, and she's going to tell you a bit about herself.
Well, first of all, Erin, thank you so much for inviting me to speak to this crowd. And I have to say that this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. You'll see that I call myself an advocate and guide for older adults and their families. And I'm really a consultant with adults and families as they experience transitions, whether they're anticipated or unanticipated. I also help folks plan for aging. And I have this wonderful role model on my slide. Her name is Rowena Cade, and she is the founder of the Minack Theatre in Cornwall. And I've had this postcard sitting on my desk for 30 years. And I have to say that this is my encore career that I have been working at for 2 years, but I've always had a love for older adults and characters and their stories. And when I look at Rowena Cade, I see an 80-something-year-old woman living her older years with dignity and choice as she wants to live. She's fit, she's curious, she obviously has interests. I believe she must be a gardener. She loves the weather, and she has no problem getting in and out of that wheelbarrow. And so it's not everybody's vision to age like this, but she's aging the way she wants to. And she has taken care of herself so that she has independence, as I say, dignity and choice. So introducing Rowena Cade, and let's all try and imagine how we'd like to look when we're in our 80s, 90s, and even as centenarians.
Amazing. Thanks, Marion. So in today's session, we're going to go through just basic benefits. We're not going to focus on that because I think a lot of us really do know, and I know this group fairly well, the benefits of aging at any, of exercise at any age. I'm going to take you through some tips from Vintage Fitness trainers and clients, really to get your parents moving. And Marion's going to talk a bit about how to have some of these challenging conversations. Go through some success stories, so things that have worked for us in the past 16 years when it comes to motivating parents or loved ones to exercise, or ourselves, as Elaine was mentioning in the chat. And I'm hoping you come out of this with a really clear action plan. So I'm going to do another poll with you just to kind of see where everyone's at in terms of the biggest barriers. So for your loved one, what is the biggest barrier to exercise right now? Interesting. Just waiting for a few more votes to come in here, but there are some clear winners on the list. Okay. So lack of motivation is really coming out as the clear winner, and lack of energy, those two things coming in together. So we're going to talk quite a bit about motivation and in terms of a barrier to exercise. Okay, just a few quick slides on the benefits of exercise. Does exercise flow to the fountain of youth? Well, kind of, I guess, is the answer. So research would show that a 1% gain in fitness equals a 1% reduction in chronological age in terms of your function. So if you can increase your fitness by 10%, or if your parents or loved one can increase their fitness by 10%, they can feel 10% younger, which is huge. If this is a pill, we would all be millionaires. It's just a little bit harder work than that, but it's amazing in terms of the difference that exercise can make for people. Marion, I don't know if you had anything to add to that one.
Yeah, I do. I think it's important to understand that fitness later in life has some really important benefits. And when I think about it, staying on your feet as we age is really important because our reaction times slow down. And I think the more we keep fit, the better we will react. And I also think that we have to always challenge our muscles to be working so that we have stability and we are less likely to have accidents and fall. I think exercise improves core strength and it improves balance and stability. So that's really important. It also helps us cognitively. And age is a primary risk factor for dementia. And so research shows that being physically active can actually help protect us against the onset of dementia and slow its progression. The other thing, and we've really noticed this during the pandemic, is isolation and loneliness. And physical exercise is a way of being engaged in a community and keeping stimulated. And so being active with others builds on social stimulation and connections and just enhances our daily lives. So just to emphasize the importance.
And I think we're probably preaching to the choir here, but sometimes it's about strategies to get that message. You might feel it in your own life, and I know a lot of you do, but it's about, what's the best way to get that message out to your loved one. So a lot of you probably are familiar with the word sarcopenia. It really is just this natural process that is characterized by some muscle weakness and actually reduced muscle mass as we age. And strength training really does help to improve sarcopenia. So visually, what you're looking at this slide is a cross section of a thigh of two different men. The one towards the left is the 25-year-old male, and the one to the right is an 81-year-old male. So you can see the white in the center is the bone, and then you see the muscle of the 25-year-old male. It looks quite dense. It goes almost all the way out to the skin with a little bit of adipose tissue that's appearing dark here in this scan. And then the 81-year-old male, you can notice right away that the muscle looks quite different. It's not as dense. And the big issue here is that gap between the muscle and the skin. So this is all fat around that muscle and skin. Will strength training make your 81-year-old father's leg look like the 25-year-old? No, but we can improve it. We can make it better. So it just shows physically what's happening in the body there. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to chime in. So I've organized this presentation to talk about the questions that I get asked most frequently from clients, which are the adult children. And the first one is this: how can I persuade my parents to exercise? The first one is really leading by example. So making sure that you're active in your own life is super important. Understanding what their barriers are or what their perceived barriers. We need to plan around the barriers. So if it's pain first thing in the morning, Maybe it's about getting a stretching schedule before they get out of bed so that they get moving, so that their exercise sessions are more beneficial. If it's raining and I don't like rain, we plan for it. If I don't have enough support, really think through what's the barrier and how are we going to plan around it. The key one I would say here is help them create goals that are important to them. So in our consults when it's the adult child and the client, I'll say, your son or daughter is doing this from a place of love. They know how important exercise is for them and how beneficial it is for them. But if you don't choose to advocate for your own health and don't get behind this, it's not something that is for you, then it won't work. And it's really letting them take the lead as opposed to feeling like you're forcing them into something. And I'll ask them in terms of creating goals that are important to them. I'll say, how is your body letting you down? And that's a key question, because what is it not letting you do you really want to do? And then you hear about trips they want to take to Italy and climb on cobble steps, and you hear about wanting to, go out again and be able to use a toilet that doesn't have a raised seat, which sounds like a simple thing. But, I had a client, his wife had passed 10 years ago. He wanted to start dating and go out for dinner. And we all want to start going out for dinner when COVID is done, but he could only go on a toilet with a raised seat. So really getting the goals from them, something that's important to them and inspirational to them, because improving hamstring flexibility, it may only jazz the vintage fitness trainers. Like no one else gets too jazzed about hamstring flexibility, right? It's about, what can I do with that? I can paint my own toenails, for example, and take it outside the family. So my secret revealed here, that picture is me and my mom. And I tried to train her. And every time I went over, I have a team of 13 trainers. I've been doing this for 16 years. Do you want some tea? No, don't need tea. Mom, tell me about the kids. No, Mom, we're here to do your exercise, right? So I have to admit that my parents get trained by one of my trainers, because every time I went there, it was like the visits, and it was really hard to get them focused. I don't know if you guys have that experience. I'd love to hear about it on chat, but I couldn't quite get her focused on the exercise. Anything to add here, Marion?
I have to say, later we'll come to my mom, because I think our own mothers are our most challenging. And my mom also is resistant to exercise, and I can talk about the goals we set for her, and it doesn't involve me.
Yeah. A question I get a lot from adult children of clients, is it too late for them to start? And there really are benefits to exercising at any age. There's research studies with 90-year-olds that says the impact that it can make is incredible in terms of strength and balance. Our team is comfortable training clients with a lot of complicated medical issues, including early stage dementia. So it's not an area that we're afraid to work with clients with complicated, dementia, post-cancer, catheter insertion, all of that kind of stuff is stuff that we've worked with in the past. This is a picture on the side. Her name's Barbara. She turned 92 and she's training virtually with one of our team, Heather. So she really wanted to get out and golf, and when COVID hit, she said, I'm just going to do this just during the next couple of months. We all thought it was going to be done. And so she's improved her strength, improves her balance, and she started golfing again at 92 because she stayed active and she stayed with it. And it's incredible that the difference between that and what could have happened, where she stayed isolated, she stayed not moving. There's zero chance that she would be out on a golf course. So I'm super excited for Barbara, and she's 92. So it really,
Erin, can I just ask, was she working out with you before COVID, or was this something she just realized was really important to her?
No, when it's during COVID, she started working with us, because it was really as everything shut down. Yeah, she is. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll just add that from a participation, there was a participation adult report card, and I love this quote, and it's, you can't stop aging, but you can age better with physical activity. And I think there's your perfect example.
Yes, absolutely. Practical questions come up often, so I wanted to address those as well. So what equipment and space do they need? And this could be working with us, this could be working on their own, pretty minimal. So, with us, there would be an exercise band, or you could pick one up if you were doing their work on your own with your parent. A small exercise ball. So I wouldn't suggest one of those big stability balls. Those are a bit too unstable for most of our clients. This is one of those small, soft Pilates balls, and we would use them often for a cue for someone with some cognitive impairment. So if you say to someone with dementia, lift your left arm over your head, and it's confusing. But if I say to them, okay, touch the pink ball, that's easier for them to get. We also use them a lot with stability for knee pain. So strengthening some of the stabilizing muscles around the knee. Sometimes we ask people to buy small hand weights, and that works well. I always remind, especially my female clients, that most women's handbags are between 9 and 12 pounds. So 2 pounds may be okay for mobility, but in terms of strength building, we go maybe closer to 3 to 5 pounds. Minimal space is really needed. We don't need big pieces of equipment in the gym. We work with clients in tiny apartments in downtown Toronto, so we really don't need much space. All right, thank you, Lisa. I'm just having a look at the chat there. Some of the other questions that come up is this one around habit change. So we have one of our adult children just having a hard time encouraging some changes of habits for her parents. And, welcome to the club, right? Habit change is hard. It's hard for all of us. And the science behind it is new habits mean new brain pathways. So the analogy I like to use is a trail, like a hiking trail. The habits that you currently have are a nice breezy path in the brain. That brain is super comfortable. There's no weeds, it's clear. You could skip down this path. It's so beautiful and clear, and it's comfortable, and that's where your brain wants to go. When you're creating a new habit, you are breaking trail. So you're cutting back the branches, there's bugs, there's trees, and it's uncomfortable for the brain, and we don't like it. You can clear the trail, but it takes work. That's why our minimum is 3 months commitment, because you need to keep working it to clear the trail. And all of a sudden that new habit is going to come this breezy pathway in your brain. But you will, and you know this from your own lives, I'm 100% sure, your brain's going to want to go back to that, glass of wine at 6 o'clock. Oh, that's what I'm used to, or whatever that habit is. Identifying what's motivating them is really going to be important for habits, and often doing it with them. So no one really likes to be told what to do. The holier than thou, I'm so good at this. Doing something with them, maybe something that you're struggling with, would be really good, as opposed to always feeling like it's being dictated to them, and something that's motivating for them. And then accountability, we find, like all of us, will really make a difference. So knowing they're accountable to their trainer, accountable to, even if you want to do it with somebody in the family that isn't you, a niece or a nephew, somebody that they're connected to, that they're accountable to, something written down, and regular check-ins will make a huge difference to encourage habit change. Anything to add on that one, Marion?
Yes, Erin, I just look at that picture and I go, whoa, we have some work to do. And there's a lot of resistance, those crossed arms. But I think for all of us, first of all, if we're speaking to our parents, you start with respect and love, as Erin said, and that you're coming from a place of concern for their well-being. And a great piece of advice I got is make sure that you yourself are exercising and exhibiting the good habits and the exercise habits that you hope your parents might take up. And then when I see that closed body language, I go, ooh, what's going on in their minds? And it's important to ask open-ended questions from a place of trust and respect, and say sort of what's preventing you. I think even saying current state, is there anything, as you said, or Erin, is there anything that you're not able to do at the moment? How might exercise improve that? Really ask open-ended questions so that they have to answer your question, and they have to imagine what taking exercise would look like. And then even going from current state questions to future state questions, and say, when you look ahead, what are the most important things that you would like to do? And maybe some exercise would help. And I think some of these conversations don't all happen at once. I think you can revisit these conversations. You don't want to be a bee in a bonnet, but it's about having listening skills and empathy, and not just listening so that you can reply with a solution, but listen to try and understand what's holding them back, and listen again and try and understand what is it that's holding them back that they're not saying. So once again, we get to my mom, and it turned out to be lycra. And that took quite a few questions to get to that. She thought being fit meant going to the gym and wearing lycra. So I think that's where to start, is having really good, trusting conversations and asking good questions.
Thank you. And a question did come up in the chat. How do you find out what motivates them? And I think you've answered that partly. Some of the questions we ask are, I've talked about the goal setting. So how's your body letting you down? Like, what activity would you really love to do that you're not able to do right now? So getting on a bike is one that we get a lot, where people really want to be able to get on a bike, or whatever it happens to be for them. The other angle you can take, and it's an important but difficult one, is if, Mom, I know you want to feel stronger and stay independent. If you don't achieve those goals, what happens? So looking at it the other way, if you don't achieve the goals you set, and we keep going on the path we're going on, map it out. What does it look like? And it sucks. Like, it is like the losing strength, getting less mobile, not getting up as often, not getting off as often, not being social, not getting out, having a fall. Like, it's a terrible negative spiral. And we really want to get them on a positive spiral, so the spiral can go the other way, eating, watching what I'm eating, feeling like I have more energy, feeling like I'm having more energy, exercising, and connecting with the world and my family a bit more. So it's just about getting them on a positive spiral and something that motivates them. So I hope that helps, but we'll get into that a little bit more. All right. How can I empower my parents to change their mindset? And this is an interesting one, and a difficult one. From our experience, and this is Jim, who trained with us till he was 101, and then he passed. And I learned a lot from Jim because his mindset was incredible. He had 5 kids, and 2 of his daughters were super involved in his life. And I talked to him a lot about how he had such an amazing mindset, because he really stayed positive and interested. And one of the things one of his daughters said to me was, as Jim was getting older, as their dad was getting older, it became about doing things for him all the time. His daughters would everyone wants to be helpful. I want to do this for you. His caregivers would come in and help him. We were the only ones, and exercise, not necessarily us, but exercise in general as a concept, was the only thing about asking him to advocate for his own health and asking him to do something that will build some independence. And that concept, it's very different than someone coming in to give you a shower. It's more positive, and it's more future looking, because I think people get tired of everything getting done for them, and in that caregiver role, again, coming from a place of love. So I think that even just the shift of exercise hopefully will help to shift in mindsets. Marion, what do you think on that one?
Well, I think just the activities of daily living are fitness exercises in a way. When you think of bending into a cupboard, opening a drawer, reaching up, picking things up, moving, all of it keeps you moving. And I think as we get older, it's very easy just to sit and let other people do things, and it's not a good idea. And so just keep active, increase what it is you already do. And funnily enough, I think the more you do, the more you want to do. So I think your body likes being exercised and used. And so it's important to keep using it or lose it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Marion, why don't you tell us about Joan?
Okay, this is the mother I was talking about, who she's a bookworm and a news junkie, basically. And the thought of exercise just turns her off. Not motivated, and this is a retired occupational therapist who knows better, but not motivated to go out to exercise, And it took me quite a lot of listening and asking questions to understand that she thought working out meant getting all dressed up, hiking herself off to the gym, lifting weights, and breaking into a sweat. Now, my mother is Scottish and does not perspire, so she retains all of her heat. So she thought really the best thing to do would be to not exercise. She also felt that if you start exercise, then she'd have to keep going, and she wasn't sure she could sustain her motivation for a long time. So then what happened is she started talking about walking. That's one thing she likes to do, and set herself a goal with some friends of doing a section of the Camino. And as a result of that, she realized that she didn't have mobility, she didn't have core strength, she didn't have balance, she didn't have endurance. And so it was from that point that she actually engaged a personal trainer. And so that she didn't have to go to a gym, she had 5-pound bags of sugar, tins of tomatoes, bottles of wine, and whatever equipment was in her house. That all seemed to make sense to her, that she didn't have to go to a gym and she could wear whatever she wanted. So she has a trainer still to this day, and she can do many squats, and she's very fit and she's agile. And I would say that she, at 86 today, actually is physically, mentally, and emotionally very fit. And so she's, for me, a great success story. And it took a little while. Anyway, there you go.
Thanks, Marion. So I'll tell you a bit about Lena, and Lena is the client and Rita is her daughter. So they kind of are really working together for Lena's health. So her barriers is she had some hospital visits to do with a heart condition during COVID, and English wasn't her first language. So one thing I would mention there is that Vintage specifically, we train, we have 9 different languages that we train in. So if English isn't your parents' first language or your loved one's first language, we might speak it, which makes a big difference for clients. The benefits, and this is from Rita's perspective, her daughter, you know, the whole experience has really boosted my mom's confidence, which is really an important part of getting more physically active. She feels stronger. She's able to do movements she hasn't been able to do in a long time. And this is a woman, again, in and out of hospital for the heart. She's in her late 80s. To see progression is just so amazing for clients, and it just warms my heart. The other thing that she found is if someone is managing a chronic condition, so when the physiotherapist came to assess her before discharge, and she was in the hospital, they were amazed at how quickly she was able to bounce back and how much strength she was able to maintain. So, you know, it can make a difference even for somebody that's managing something chronic, to their bounce back from their condition. So I'm really proud that she's kept at it. And it really is, I would say, the relationship with her daughter. So her daughter sets her up. I think if it was Lena on her own, she would have stopped this a long time ago, because it is hard work. It's not easy. And so I think it's really that relationship and supportive encouragement that she has from her daughter that's helped to give the success that Lena's had. And the last one I'll tell you about is Verna and Moody. This was a neat one because they were actually living. So the daughter is Verna. She was in a small apartment in New York when COVID hit. Moody moved to her son's house in Boston, and they worked together. So they did partner training. New York, Boston, trainer in Toronto, and somehow it all worked out. Doing it together was really fun in terms of keys to success. Staying really consistent with their schedule, and with a schedule for 3 different people, it was important that it were consistent, and keeping it fun. So they had music that they added in, and they just kept it fun. It was a chance to connect over Zoom in a way that we sort of all kind of lost things to talk about sometimes. I find with my mom, what's new? Nothing. What's new with you? Oh, not so much. You know, so it was sort of a great way to connect. Because lack of motivation for Moody, Verna's mom, was an issue here. So I think for her, spending time with her daughter, having a little bit of fun, learning something new with the technology really worked well in this case. So I'll tell you a bit about a program that we're running, just if you're interested. It's called Roadmap to Health, and it's really targeted at the adult children of our clients. It involves a full fitness assessment, so it would be looking at the client's balance, strength, joint range of motion, flexibility, body measurements, and posture. They would get a personalized fitness program, 2 personal training sessions with a seniors fitness expert. Those could be virtually or, as of June 14th, fingers crossed, in person outdoors. And then we would follow up with a consultation where we'd take your loved one through, how the results of the assessment, go through current barriers, some of the stuff we've been talking about on the webinar, and learn a bit more about vintage fitness. And the program is priced at $299. So let me know if you're interested in that. And I just wanted to open the floor for any questions, which you could pose in the chat or in question and answer.
I see Sandy asked the question, how do you find out what motivates them? And Erin and I were talking last week about what motivates people to exercise. And we defined that goals are one great way of motivating, but the other is the social element. And so some people, it's a combination perhaps of both, but if you find out what really motivates people to exercise, that can help with the action plan. I know that I love to exercise, but I like my peeps nearby, and I like the accountability of having somebody waiting for me, if it's to go for a run under a lamppost or to join a Zoom. But just knowing somebody else is pitching up at the same time is a great accountability, and there's a social element as well.
Absolutely. Any other questions that people have about motivating their loved ones that we can go through, or any other questions about our Roadmap to Health program? No. Okay. Well, listen, I thank you so much for participating. I will send you a link to the webinar tomorrow, and follow up to see whether you have any interest in that Roadmap to Health. I hope you have a beautiful Wednesday afternoon, and thank you again to Marion. Oh, just something's come up in the chat. Well done. Thank you, Sharon. That's great. Thank you for joining me. It's always so great to do this together.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Erin.
And thank you for the people saying thanks for a great presentation. I just want to make sure there's any.
Oh.
Yes, Sandy, I can. How long is the program? So that program, Barbara, for Roadmap to Health, it would be depending on when you book the sessions, but normally it would take maybe 2 weeks by the time you have your assessment, have your 2 sessions, and have the consult, something like that. It's a bit of a trial program, that one is. And Sandy, yes, I definitely will send you the recording. Okay, enjoy your afternoon, and I will see you soon. I will send you the recording. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Erin.